Welcome to the Draft Deeper podcast. This is your host, Nathan Grubel. Joining me, as always, is my producer, Kevin Black. And also joining us today, an incredibly special guest, a prospect who I have advocated for from the beginning of this year, although my interest in his game goes further back than that, back to when I first started at the private firm I worked for called EV Hoops. That year was when Matt was coming into the fold. But that being said, I want to introduce our guest, Matt Coleman, former Texas point guard, looking to make his mark in the NBA. Matt, how are you doing this afternoon?
Yeah. I'm doing pretty well, man. Living the dream. I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm doing well. You certainly are living the dream, man. I love the game of basketball. I know you love it more than I do. This is what it's all about. I love having guys on. I love getting to chat with prospects and certainly give people a background as to who you are and why you deserve to be in this draft class. Because I feel that way. But
Yes.
not everybody else may potentially feel that way, but I think we're gonna sway some people by the end of this podcast, my man. So
Let's
um,
do it.
I I want to dive right in. So let's give my audience a little background about your story, Matt. So you committed to Texas, like I said, back when I was working for a firm, and you come from Oak Hill Academy. You come from a very prestigious high school program. So I just want to start off by asking you, why did you choose to go to Texas at the time? And did you imagine you'd be part of a 4-year run, really carrying that program through some turbulent times to the success that you guys had in your senior year? Did you envision a 4-year stint?
Well, to begin, why Texas? Coach Smart recruited me. He was a big factor on why I chose to attend the University of Texas. He recruited me since the 8th grade when he was at VCU. Him and his assistant coach, Coach Morrell, and we grew a relationship over time. And as soon as he got the job at Texas, he offered me as well. His message stayed the same. He hands down, he showed that I was what he wanted in a point guard and a player, and for me to run the show at the University of Texas. And never would I thought that I would be a 4-year starter, play every game, and just have the success that I had. Wasn't what I thought I would, the potential that I would reach, but I still feel pretty grateful and happy of the things I did, for the University of Texas.
Well, the University of Texas should be thankful that you were there those 4 years, Matt, because you really did bring stability to the point guard position while you were a Longhorn. And it's a huge reason why I love your promise as a point guard in the NBA. But I think the way you run a team and bring a sense of calm to the offense, that speaks volumes to your confidence as a player, as well as your maturity as a leader. So where does that confidence and that belief in yourself come from, man? Why don't you talk to me a little bit about that?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Where does your confidence and that belief in yourself come from? Both confidence in your game as well as your maturity as a leader. Where does that come from?
To begin, it's just through my work, just being in the gym. Me and my dad, since I came out the womb, and just trusting my work over time. That no matter what, I know what I'm capable of. I know I prepared for any moment that will be put forth in front of me. And then with the help of at school, with the help of Coach Smart, even the days I didn't believe in myself, he still believed in me. He breathed positive energy in me. My teammates, they were confident in me. They would always say, like, "Matt, you are our point guard. You're the best point guard in the country." So the guys around me, the people, my loved ones around me, breathe positive energy into me. So that's all the confidence I needed right there.
You're a podcasting natural already, Matt, because you're literally segueing into another question that I got right here. Because when you talk about that you were bred for the moment, you hit a lot of big shots in your career at the end of games, but particularly at the end of this season, and time and time again, your name was called on, and you always rose to the occasion. And I just asked you about the confidence you have in yourself, but you also talked about the belief that your teammates and the coaching staff also had in you. How did you earn that trust from them to be the one to take those shots for virtually the entire time you were with that program? And how do you think that can translate and help your case as an NBA player as you look to move forward?
One, like the work just speaks for itself. You know, being a 4-year starter since day one, having like me and Coach Smart used to call it hard-won wisdom. You can't teach that. You can't prepare for that. That's something you just got in you. You have in you. So I don't think, but going into my senior year, I just the confidence, the swagger, and just knowing like I know I had the ability to be a very good point guard, and I knew my teammates, we had a very good team overall, and a chance to make history this past year, and then carrying it over to the NBA. I just feel my role would be being a leader, um, being vocal, great teammate, and just a point guard that comes in, controls the game, doesn't lose leads, and just takes advantage of every opportunity, any time that he gets while he's in.
We're definitely going to talk about your game a little bit, Matt. But before we break down some specifics, I want to ask you, what NBA players have you liked to watch film of and study as you're entering into your professional career? Like, who do you compare yourself to? Because I feel like I have an answer, but I want to hear what your answer is before I kind of give my some of my feedback.
So I'm a Chris Paul fanatic.
There you
That's my
go.
favorite point guard. So I'm always watching him. But for my role in the NBA, I watch a lot of Cameron Payne. He's
Okay.
a backup point guard, lefty as well. Been very, very successful this year, and is the reason why, a part of the Suns' success. And then Monte Morris as well. He was a Big 12 guard. Um, I think he is the best backup point guard in the NBA. And just watching him, he's efficient, doesn't turn the ball over, he makes open shots, he finishes well in the paint. Those two guys that I look and I want to, model my game after, as I make this transition into the next level.
Two names that I didn't necessarily have right off the bat, Matt, but I'm glad you spoke to both of those guys. I'm a Philly guy. I live about an hour north of Philadelphia, and I was watching my 76ers this whole playoff series, and
Hmm.
man, could have they used a guy like that? Could have they used a guy like you? Because man, some of the guard play at times, the fact that they didn't have guys who were willing to step up and hit some of those shots at times, it,
Yeah,
it, it hurt my soul. But that's exactly why somebody like you, Matt, you're going to be a valuable point guard for someone coming into the NBA, whether it's a backup spot starter type role, whatever the case may be.
thank
And
you.
I hope when scouts are evaluating you and looking at your game, man, I hope they're not just looking at the box score numbers, because I don't know how much time you potentially have spent on synergy. I don't know how many people have run some of those numbers by you, but I'd like to share some of those stats with you of your game, because some of your numbers really blow me away in terms of what I think you can do.
Yeah, let me hear it.
So
Talk to me. Talk to me.
absolutely, man. So you ranked in the 72nd percentile in the country overall this year on offense, which is they rate that out as very good. You were in the 97th percentile in isolation scoring in the country as a point guard. You know that
Oh
you know
wow,
how good you were in isolation? And
didn't
then
even know.
obviously in the 75th percentile scoring out of pick and roll sets, but in the 85th percentile in pick and roll sets, including passes, and then also up there in isolation play, including passes. So anytime you're making a play out of those sets, you're in the 97th percentile as well. So when I'm sitting back, right, and I'm evaluating different players in their game, you always have to look at what the NBA is trending towards and what the NBA is putting priority in. And you see it time and time again, especially in these playoffs. It's guys who can get out there, create their own shot, and who can do something efficient, whether that's scoring out of a pick and roll set or making a play for others. And this is why I think that your case has gone so far under the radar. To me, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, Matt. It's a borderline travesty, because you're a picture perfect example of what teams should be looking for, especially like in that second round slot. Known commodities who can come in and excel at the play types that matter the most and are focused on the most in the NBA. So, do some of those numbers surprise you in any way?
No, it does. I didn't expect for them to be so high. They do surprise me. All of them surprise me. Matter of fact, because me and Coach, we looked at synergy a lot. Not as much this year because of COVID and the distance, but last year. So I mean, I don't guess, but there was an improvement from last year to this year. Just hearing those numbers.
Yeah, and also by the way, you talked about Monte Morris not being ready to have his name called, not necessarily to make plays for others on the ball, but also when he's off the ball, either cutting to the basket or especially in the catch and shoot game. Obviously, stretching the floor is an important part of your game, regardless. But you were also in the 81st percentile on catch and shoot shots, so that's another dimension you can bring, whether it's on the ball play or off the ball play. I feel very comfortable about how you're going to translate to the NBA from an offensive standpoint. But even on the defensive side of the ball, man, you're still ranked in the 64th percentile in terms of overall defense. So I, I've been a guy who is becoming known at this point for getting up on my soapbox and defending who people would consider smaller guards, because it
Yeah.
feels like when you're on social media and you're listening to all this buzz, it's like if you're not like this 6'5" or taller like ball handler, like you don't have as much of a space in the NBA as you could. And like I know that to be false. I know you know that to be false because you said right away your top guy to watch was Chris Paul, the point
Hmm.
god. And
Yep.
he is literally eviscerating teams. He has his whole career, but especially in this postseason, I love watching the Phoenix Suns. I
Love
know
it.
that you hear some of that negative stigma. What are some of your thoughts on that? And what would you say to some of those naysayers who want to just put so much stock in size and not necessarily enough on skill?
And you can't teach heart at the end of the day. Um, like a guy like Chris Paul, I mean, he got the biggest heart in the NBA right now because he wants to win. Like he's a winner. I don't care how small you are, how big you are. If you want it and you a winner, then that's half the battle. And then your skill set's gonna take over after that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I guess my comparison for you, Matt, I see this as being a pretty apt comparison. I see your games being very similar in terms of role and ultimately fit in the NBA. I don't know how much attention you pay to Jalen Brunson, but me
Oh,
being a Philly guy,
Jay Breezy.
absolutely loving his game, how efficient he was in college. There are some areas where you ended up shooting better in your last season in college than he did. So that really spoke volumes to me because I'm making the comparison. I'm like, I got to go back through some of the numbers to see if some of that's matching up personally with what I think. But you had better shooting percentages scoring out of pick and roll sets as well as in isolation. You were right on par in those play types, including passes. You were the same percentile defensively. Brunson was a better spot up player by the numbers, but I think a lot of
Hmm.
that goes into the spacing that he had around him. You didn't always have that level of spacing to work with guys like Dante DiVincenzo and Mikal Bridges and guys of that ilk
Yeah.
to be able to act as different spacing threats for you. But the difference is that Brunson was drafted early in the second round. It was viewed as a surefire draft pick, and I may see you as someone who needs to be drafted by an NBA team, but that doesn't necessarily appear to be the case according to consensus. But I want to know, in
Yes.
your words, Matt, why do you think why do you feel like you're being overlooked in different draft circles?
Honestly, I don't know why. Um, I don't, because I go to these workouts and I'm talking to other players in the country, and they see me and my potential of being a draft pick and getting drafted. So I don't know why. I don't know why. And all it does for me is just motivate me, and they keep poking a bear of just wanting to prove people wrong.
100%. And that was always seen in your game. Like we talked about, you hit a ton of big shots for Texas. You brought stability to that position. And you really did make that program excel at times when some people didn't think that it would. So just being that kind of a leader on the court at the position arguably most of need nowadays. Playmakers are heavily in demand nowadays in the NBA. Like, yeah, I don't disagree with that answer one bit, man. I don't understand it either. I think your case is about as clear cut as far as being draftable as they come. And I don't get it either, but I like a lot of the answers you've given me about your game in particular, Matt. I do want to ask you a question about a few of your teammates who are projected picks in the
Yeah,
draft. Greg Brown, Kai Jones. Greg, we knew coming into the season was a raw talent with massive upside because of his athletic ability. Kai has come a long way playing the game in 2 years and is projected right now to be a lottery pick. And you've played with a ton of talented big men during your time at Texas. By the way, accentuating those guys because of your passing, because of your pick and roll play, your ability to hit tough shots, you make those bigs better. And you give them a different chance to shine. So I don't want anybody to forget about that either.
thank
That's
you.
part of a
Yeah.
point guard's job. But like you play with guys like Jackson Hayes, Jericho Sims, Mo Bamba. What do you like about those two guys, Greg and Kai? Having played with them, how do you compare those to some of the other bigs that you've played with? What's some insight you can give my audience? Be having those relationships with them.
With like Greg and Kai, like they were versatile compared to like a Jackson and Mo. Um, they could both shoot it better than Mo and Jackson. Not to get into comparison or anything, but they're just so athletic. They would run the floor. They had raw talent that you can't teach. They would do certain things that would just wow you. And a guy like Kai Jones, he has an incredible work ethic. It's another guy that just loves the game of basketball, and he made so much progression from his freshman to sophomore year. And then Greg Brown, he's just a raw talent, just raw. He was so good. He was a player, still learning, still maturing, still growing, but he's a player, and he just has fun. He's like a big kid.
Definitely having a good personality absolutely helps.
Yes.
Especially with being drafted in the NBA, people want guys who are going to come in, work, and just want to have fun with their teammates, create good chemistry in the locker room. Absolutely, and I think you're going to bring a lot of that same thing to the table too. You seem like a great chemistry guy. Just you and I talking for a little bit here. We don't know each other for years, but just getting some of
I feel
these
like I seen
answers
him before.
here. Man, Lord only knows if we've ever crossed paths in the past. Like Lord only knows. I've been to enough games. I've scouted enough games, but you, like I said, I've always had my eye on you. I really think that you have a tailor made backup point guard role in the league. We've talked about some of your strengths, Matt. What are some of the things that you've spent a lot of time working on as you head into the NBA? What are some areas you definitely want to get better in?
One, just spending a lot of time on my body, just toning it up so that I'm able to, take that bump to defend post ups and at the next level. Two would be my pace. At times I would get, sped up because I'm fast. So I play a lot at one speed. So I've been working on my pace, change the speeds, slow, fast, fast, slow. And another, just, being comfortable with my right hand, not making it a weakness anymore. I don't think it's going to be a strength, but I don't want it to be a weakness. And then shooting, you gotta, playing in NBA, backing out, stretching out, the distance, I can't think of the word. Um, yeah, just stretching out the distance, backing up the line a little bit. So just working on, getting comfortable shooting the NBA three, catch and shoot on the move and on the dribble.
By the way, you mentioned about working on your body, definitely bulking up to be able to take some hits. And we talked about your size not being the biggest of point guards. But if anybody had any doubt about your heart, about your willingness to absorb and embrace contact and score down low around the basket this year, you were in the 92nd percentile in scoring, and you shot almost 72%. So if anyone looks at those numbers, they sure as hell should not question your ability to finish around the basket. So that just adds to the three-level scoring attack that you potentially bring as a point guard on top of everything else, all of the competitive aspects, all the off the court stuff that you bring to the table. Certainly an excellent case to have for yourself as you come into the NBA. But This wouldn't be an interview, Matt, without getting to know you a little bit off the court too. So before we
Okay.
wrap up, I want to know who you are, man. What do you like to do in your spare time when you aren't playing or studying basketball? What makes you tick, man?
So I'm big into shoes. So I like collecting shoes. I'm always looking to buy another pair of shoes. That's one of my biggest things to do off the court. I have my own clothing brand as well called
You have your
Monument.
own clothing brand?
Yeah, it started during quarantine. You know, we have so much time on our hands, and I was like, man, I spend so much money on clothes, so I should start my own clothes. You know, so I have like shirts, shorts, um, sweatpants, hoodies, things of that nature. A little streetwear brand. Um, that's all. And then I like spending time with my close friends, my loved ones. You know, I'm a big family guy. Going to the movies, playing bowling with my brother and stuff like that. So
Bowling. I'm assuming you're 100% better than I am in bowling. You have to
I'm
be.
not. I'm 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 solid. I'm solid. My little brother, he's really good. He wants his own bowling ball and his own bowling shoes. That's a little bit too much for me, but I'm solid. I can bowl around 90 to 105. Roughly on average.
That's solid.
I'm
That's definitely
solid.
solid. You ever golf?
I have not golfed. I have not golfed yet. Miniature golf, putt putt.
That's fine, man. Let me tell you, I went golfing for the first time like a month and a half ago with some of my friends that I've known for years, and they've been bugging me to just get on the golf course, just try it. I can use some clubs that I have, just try it. I have never failed at something so horribly in my life. So I know for a fact you're an athlete, man. If you ever get on the golf course, I can assure you, you'd probably be a lot better than me. So it's a leisurely activity if you're decent at it and not, shooting 15 strokes a hole, but definitely
Yeah.
something to try it. And you talked about the clothing line. Can you tell my audience where to find that clothing line at? And by audience, I mean me because I want to look at this stuff.
You can find it online, mnmtl.us. I repeat, mnmtl.us. It's
Got
online.
it. I,
Yes.
I'm literally looking it up as we speak, man. I'm definitely gonna take a look. Hopefully, I can pick some stuff up because that's awesome. That you're definitely expanding out and doing something different along with furthering your basketball career. It's all about diversity, right?
Yeah.
Having that portfolio.
Oh man, when
Some
basketball's over, I got so many things I'm gonna tap into. Real
Damn, man,
estate.
you're taking my questions from me, right?
I'm
Right,
gonna be a
right
I'm gonna
off
be
the
a
dock.
coach.
Talk to me about that.
I'm gonna be a coach. I'm gonna be a college. I don't want to be a head coach. Too much pressure. Too much anxiety. I want to be an assistant coach. Get on the road, travel, recruit, meet the families. But yeah, that's what I want to do when I finish playing basketball.
So you want to kind of stay involved in the game,
Oh no,
like
no,
moving
no,
forward after
no
your
doubt,
playing days.
no doubt
Okay.
for sure.
That was one of my questions. I asked Jordan Hall that when I had him on too, and I think that's just an awesome question to be able to ask players because at some point the playing days are over, but you,
Yeah,
especially you going through college and having so many experiences that some of these other one and done guys don't have, you learn a lot about yourself. That's really what college is all about. So I'd imagine that you would have had a good answer for that. But coaching, affecting young man's lives, that's especially what life's all about. I'm glad to hear that answer from you, boss.
yes, sir.
Last thing, I'm a foodie. I love food. If I could eat whatever I wanted to all the time, I'd be 300 pounds. I can't do that. But talk to me about your top 5 favorite foods. What's your go-to list?
Top five. See, I like cooking too in my spare time. It's very
Oh my
soothing
god.
for me. So if you ask, I cook for Jordan sometimes since we've been here in Houston. I throw down. We do little Taco Tuesdays,
There you
little
go.
salmon, little chicken. You know, I do a little bit of everything. I tap into a little bit of everything. Versatile. But when
You
it comes to food,
yes.
I love seafood. Crab legs,
Mm,
shrimp, flounder. That's I love seafood. I love chicken wings.
yes,
Fried
sir.
wings, hot wings. Those are my two favorites. Anything after that, it's little pasta, little Alfredo, chicken Alfredo, shrimp Alfredo. And then you can't go wrong with tacos. Some nice
No.
tacos. I've been in Texas, can't they do breakfast tacos? I'm not a big fan of breakfast tacos, but I gotta love some tacos, some fajitas. Love me a little Mexican fajitas.
Do you do like the authentic tacos with like the small little tortillas
The street
street ones?
tacos. I went to this restaurant this past weekend. I was in Austin on the weekend, and they had these little mini street tacos. Oh, they were scrumptious. They were exquisite.
I need more authentic Mexican food in my life, man. Because I don't even go to Chipotle enough. I'm literally like the worst of the worst. I'm hitting up Taco Bell all the time. That is like
Terrible.
that is.
That's not it. That's not it. You need to come to Texas. Come to Austin. You drive, find you a food truck.
I do need to come to Texas 100%. That's definitely on the list of places that I need to visit, and hopefully I'll be scouting there. Absolutely in this upcoming season. I got my trip to Vegas all booked for summer league, but I need to get places other than Vegas or Atlantic City, man. I need to show people that I'm not just about partying. I know how to experience other things in life. Oh my God. But listen, with that being said, Matt, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us. I don't want to take up too much of your day. You got a lot of important things you're working on right now, but do you have you plug the clothing line? You have anything else you want to plug with my audience, any kind of social media channels, anything else you're working on?
Follow me on Instagram at Coleman. Great content, sports and family. That's what I'm about here.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. The two most important things. 100%, my man. Matt, it was a pleasure. Stay in touch with me 100%.
No problem.
I'm following your journey. I sung your praises all the way, and we're gonna up your publicity with this podcast, my man. We're gonna make it happen. But seriously, appreciate you taking the time to come on with us.
No, I want to say thank you for the respect and just the praise that you've given me, and that doesn't go unnoticed. Like, I appreciate that. I truly do. Like, thank you.
100%. Anything I can do, my man. But with that being said, thank you everyone out there so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you haven't followed us on Twitter already at Draft Deeper, what are you doing? Follow us. We're always talking hoops. We're talking prospects. Whether it's the top overall pick in the draft or top 100, whatever picks in the draft, we're talking about it all. Certainly subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and stay tuned. We have so much more content coming over the next few weeks leading up to the draft. Thank you so much for tuning in, paying attention. Have a wonderful rest of your week.